Ambassador Strulak, NATO and Warsaw Pact negotiators have been discussing force reductions in Central Europe now for 6 weeks. Each side has made conflicting proposals on how the reduction should be carried out. Is there any movement, sir, towards a compromise?
Well, yourself, you have mentioned about different proposals, and I think they reflect two different approaches to the problem of reduction. As you know, at the beginning of the negotiations, the four socialist delegations, those of Czechoslovakia, German Democratic Republic, Soviet Union, and our own, have presented proposals which I would characterize as concrete and comprehensive. They provide for a substantial reduction of about more than 15% within 3 years, starting from 1975 and completing by 77. The reduction would comprise both national and foreign forces of all the 11 participants and would include all major components of military capability, that is ground as well as air forces with nuclear weapons at their disposal. I would stress as characteristic point of those proposals the fact that they were trying to build upon the elements of agreement which was already achieved during the preparatory consultations held in spring. Now, as far as the Western approach is concerned, we see that it still reflects the concept of the so-called MBFR, which as such has never been accepted by the negotiators before, by the participants. Specifically, it puts as an objective the elimination of disparities which are rather arbitrarily chosen and conceived, and in our view these would lead to unilateral military advantages. To sum up, our evaluation of this approach, of this concept, is that it is not conducive to mutually acceptable solutions. On the other hand, trying to answer your question, I would say that
New Year. What are the chances of an early agreement?
Well, I have mentioned in my answer to your first question that we consider our proposals, our approach, to provide a good basis for mutually acceptable solutions. We are of the opinion that given the goodwill of all participants, of all parties to the future agreements, we can arrive at an understanding, at an agreement on the reduction of armed forces and armaments in Central Europe on the basis of our proposals.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you very much. Was it within,
It's very good.
within the limits?
Oh, yes, that's all right. Ambassador Strulak, NATO and Warsaw Pact negotiators have now been discussing force reductions in Central Europe for 6 weeks. Each side has made different proposals on how the reduction should be carried out. Is there any movement, sir, towards a compromise? Would Poland agree, sir, to setting an approximately equal limit on NATO and Warsaw Pact forces in Central Europe? The talks, sir, resume in the new year. What are the chances of an early agreement? Time.
Just a moment. To see that anywhere.
NATO and Warsaw Pact negotiators broke for Christmas, deeply divided on how East and West should carry out force reductions in Central Europe.
The Communist allies have proposed a more than 15% cutback of land, air and nuclear forces spread over 3 years. The Western allies, who say this would still leave the East with a sizable military advantage, have proposed setting a common limit to land forces in Central Europe. But despite the difference, the consensus among delegates is that agreement will be reached in the new year.